what everybody has seen in recent months is this hellscape where there's no life, there's no color. It's shells of buildings, rubble, or entire city reduced to rubble and dust, which is not the city that I remember, is not the city that I lived in, or 70,000 more people. Bakhmut back in 2010, 11, 12, and even up until the full scale invasion was a beautiful little city that felt a lot like a city in middle America, or say, a suburb of Portland, Oregon, where I grew up. You know, people sent their children to school. They had families. They would spend the weekends at the movie theater or the cinema or this beautiful house of culture where they would show various operas. The embankment on the river was lined with roses, and there was always somebody out there, posing for a photograph to post on social media. It was a place known not for war, but instead for sparkling wine. There is an old famous winery that was actually created by Joseph Stalin in the 50s, and it's produced sparkling wine. They call it champagne. It was sparkling wine, but done in a similar manner as French champagne. And it was sent shipped all over the Soviet Union, and then later still all over Ukraine and Eastern Europe. And I had gone there several times and done tours and made friends with the people who worked at the winery, and they would call me every once in a while and say, "We have some foreigners in town and they want to go to the winery and we don't speak English. Can you come and help guide the tour and translate?" And I'd say, "Yeah, sure." It was also a place known for salt, mining salt. They had these huge, huge salt mines that went for 20 or 30 miles underground, but also had this cavernous room where every October, Ukraine's elite would gather in this mining elevator with no walls on it. And they'd go down 20 at a time, and they would watch the National Philharmonic Orchestra play. And it was like the one of the events of the year in Eastern Ukraine. And so it was this place that was off the beaten path, but it was a beautiful city of its own. It was the former regional capital of the Donetsk region before the city of Donetsk was the capital. And unlike a lot of the rest of the region, which is a coal dusted steppe, because there are a lot of coal mines out there, this was a place that was actually relatively clean, and people took great pride in their city, and it was just a lovely place. It wasn't a major metropolis, but it had its own charm about it, and I fell deeply in love with it, and I made some very close friends who I saw grow up and raise families and do some really great things before they were forced to flee or join the military. And unfortunately, the apartments that I lived in, and the schools that I worked at, and the library that I volunteered at are all gone.